Well, I think we're beyond that. Thursday, his attorney general gave a talk at a Muslim Brotherhood dinner, a group called Muslim Advocates, who are directly aligned with Muslim Brotherhood organizations like the Islamic Society of North America, Muslim Public Affairs Council CARE. So the Attorney General of the United States gives a speech at a Muslim Brotherhood dinner and says that, speech that maligns Islam is going to, they can count on the Department of Justice and, quote, this Attorney General to know that we will stand with you. And tonight, in Sterling, Virginia, at the Muslim Brotherhood's Adams Center, the Secretary of Homeland Security is going to talk about Muslim civil rights while standing in a place that is a Hamas front. So no, I don't buy it that this president doesn't know. I think he knows. I think the people in charge know. And this is the dumbest, most incompetent group of people ever to be assembled, or there's an intentionality here about it, and they know. And that means there's treason going on. And I think we need to start looking legally at what the implications of this are. Because as you know, I believe it is treason. I believe this is absolute treason. This is directly aiding and abetting enemies of the United States. Directly using the color of law of the Attorney General's office to support a Muslim Brotherhood group, or certainly at minimum, although they are a Muslim Brotherhood group, a group directly aligned ideologically with the Muslim Brotherhood and against the United States. Well, you just said something that is very important. Is the question I would ask is, why are these guys, right? There are two big questions when we talk about this whole issue. Number one, we hear that Islam doesn't stand for this, and the president in his speech Sunday night said ISIS practices a perverted form of Islam. And I would just say, well, if that's true, then why are these leaders calling for a reformation of Islam? And I just want your listeners to think about that.
So that's the question. Right. Are they wrong if they're calling for reform?
Well, I'm saying, why would you call for a reform of something if there's nothing wrong with it?
Right.
If ISIS is getting it all wrong, that's the first thing. The second thing, what you said, which I think is brilliant, is neither Andre Carson nor Keith Ellison, the two Muslim members of Congress, have ever come out and said, yes, Sharia is incompatible with U.S. law, with the Constitution, with federal code. To the contrary, they have said that Sharia is fine. There's nothing incompatible with it, which is an absolute lie for anyone that's ever opened up a book of Islamic law and actually read it. When you hear things, and I don't want to go too far because I know you want to talk about Andre Carson, but when you hear things like there are thousands of interpretations of Islamic law, that is simply untrue. And whether the person knows it's untrue, which in most cases I believe they do, or they're just ignorant, it doesn't matter. That's untrue. The bottom line is 100% of Sharia law mandates jihad until the world is under Sharia law, period. There's no version of Islam that doesn't require that. And Andre Carson and Keith Ellison know it. And so they have not, as you have said, condemned Sharia, made clear that, yes, the Muslims, they just want to come here and integrate into American society and live freely, and we should denounce Sharia. Neither one of them have done that. And as a matter of fact, the preponderance of the Islamic community in Europe and in the United States do not come here. And they specifically have publicly said, we do not come to assimilate. We come to coexist until Sharia is the law of the land. And this is a very different problem. So neither one of these guys is denouncing Sharia. They are both have aligned themselves with easily identifiable Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas organizations, and the mantra that they speak is the same mantra, quite frankly, that the Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Qaeda speak. And they just do it in a little softer tone, so it's not so obvious. But it's pretty obvious to anybody who's paying attention to how these people communicate. Only talking about ISIS is my first question, and I've asked this on your show before, rhetorically, did Al-Qaeda evaporate from the planet? are Hamas and Hezbollah and Abu Sayyaf and Al-Shabaab and Boko Haram, did they all evaporate? Did Tablighi Jamaat-e-Islami and the Muslim Brotherhood, are they not a part of this? According to the administration, some are, some are not. But what's interesting is their ideology for all of them is to impose the caliphate under which Sharia is the law of the land. That's their ideology. And the ideology that in furtherance of doing that, you can kill and enslave people. And yes, just what the president described in this speech as he has in other speeches, doing horrible things, raping women and killing children and enslaving people. Well, unfortunately, that's the ideology. So the question is, if that's the ideology, and we're going to rely on a Muslim community in America to help us, because he said we can't do it without the Muslim community, and we can't do it without our quote-unquote Muslim allies, except the organizations that the U.S. government exclusively rely on to provide advice and counsel on these issues. The Muslim organizations are all Muslim Brotherhood organizations who share the same ideology as ISIS.